feel like NBA fans are becoming too smart. And when I say that, I don't mean that sarcastically or facetiously. I mean that right now, the average NBA fan is significantly more in tune with the NBA than any time before. And that may seem like a great thing, but I think in some parts, it can be really bad. And I'm in this as well. I'm not calling out anybody specifically. I am a part of the problem. We gonna get to that. Now, this could be the case for the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, the soccer leagues across the world. I don't really know. I'm not in those circles. So I'm specifically gonna talk about the NBA. And I wanna start off where this mindset started for me. So yesterday I tweeted, Zach LaVine is shooting 44.4% from 3 on 7 attempts is what that should say, by the way. And then my guy, Automatic NBA, replied with this. Best 2024-2025 shooters so far. Points added for pull-up threes, catch-and-shoot threes, free throws, and long twos as of January 10th, 2025. The best shooter in basketball this season so far has been Anthony Edwards. He's leagues above Steph Curry, which is kind of crazy. And Anthony Edwards' pull-up three-point shooting is that good? The only person that's close to him is Jordan Poole, kind of, but that's ridiculous. Then you got Steph Curry, number 3, and Zach LaVine, Steph Curry, number 2, and Zach LaVine, number 3. This season, Zach LaVine has been absolutely on a burner. Here's his stats for the first 6 games of 2025 so far. Do you see this? 36, 33, 31, 35, 33, 32. Like, he's currently on a stretch that only few NBA or few Chicago Bulls have ever been on. Can you guess the list? I'm sure you can, but Zach LaVine is currently doing that right now. And I promise you, this is not a Zach LaVine propaganda video. This is just the start of all of the thoughts that's been going in my mind. So I tweeted that, right? Hey, Zach LaVine has been amazing. Like, there's no trade market for him whatsoever, I guess. And he's been better than anybody could have expected this season. And normally, if you have a guy that can give you 30 on any given night, that can shoot 50% from the field, 45% from 3 on 7 attempts per game, that guy would have a market if he was available for trade. And that's not the case for Zach LaVine. And sure, that's understandable. Zach LaVine's contract is not a good contract. Again, I'm not here to try to convince you of that, but that's not our job. That's not our job sitting at home. That's for the GMs across basketball to figure out. When I tweet that Zach LaVine has been on a burner, the amount of people that are thinking about the contract of Zach LaVine versus the player of Zach LaVine is astronomical. I feel like there's different levels of NBA fandom, and I'm not saying one is more important than the other. I sit on the place that I'm talking about. Hell, I have an entire gaming channel specifically where we make trades and try to build perfect teams, right? So because of that, I feel like I know the average NBA player's salary, how long they're under contract. Do they have a player option? Is there a trade kicker? Do they have a poison pill? I know all of that. Like, I'm reading the CBA type shit. And I feel like other NBA fans are in that as well, and that can be detrimental to you and the product. Instead of appreciating this crazy run that Zach LaVine is on, it's like, yeah, Kenny, but he's making $10 million more annually than he should. That's crazy to me. So that's one fandom. That's one part of the fandom. We are really into the contracts. We are really into the team building and so on and so forth. I think the best form of fandom that exists is the fandom that my dad has. My dad could not care about who was making any amount of money. At the end of the day, he wants to see his favorite team win games. And it is the perfect place to be as a fan of a sport. At the end of the day, this is all about competition. This is all about seeing our team be successful. So though the Bulls, everybody and their grandma, if you really in the know, knew that the Bulls did not have a high ceiling. We knew that the Bulls at the best would be a playing team, and that's if they didn't trade anybody. But the fan that my dad is like, I don't really care. Yeah, they're going into a game against the OKC Thunder. I think they have a chance to win, and damn it, I'm going to watch them try to do that. That is a beautiful, beautiful place to be. But because social media or because general managers have convinced us that tanking is the way to do it, they're a part of NBA fandoms that really don't care about winning anymore. And again, I'm part of that. I would much rather my team have a top 5 pick than pick number 9 or pick number 11 where it goes to what, the Spurs? So because of that, instead of me watching my favorite team win occasionally and being excited about a win, I'm on the exact opposite side of the spectrum. The Bulls beat the Boston Celtics a few weeks back in a game where Zach LaVine was incredible. It was this, it was that, maybe some crazy officiating favor towards the Bulls. I don't really care. Instead of me celebrating the fact that my favorite team just beat the team that won the championship last year, I was like, damn, that decreased our odds to keep our pick. that crazy? Is that crazy or am I tripping? But again, we have been convinced, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, that the idea of tanking, watching your favorite team lose, can be very beneficial in 3 years down the line. So I'm okay with watching my team lose for that reason. But you know how much trust you're giving the front office when you do that? When you really say we want to lose as many games as possible, you need them to get good lottery odds at the end of the day. Part of it is ping pong balls, y'all. Win the lottery. Part of it is that. Part of it is you trusting that your front office, the people that are making the decisions, the ownership, they're going to make the right pick. And not only are they going to make the right pick, they're going to develop that pick. There are so many different variables in it that, like, me wanting my team to lose is kind of asinine because we have to see the pieces fall perfectly in a row for it to matter at the end of the day. Like, do you remember when Charlotte was the worst team to ever exist in the NBA? Because in their mind, there was this generational talent named Anthony Davis in this year's draft class, and boy, they wanted every chance in the world to get him. Well, the lottery odds bounced in a different way. And they ended up with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Not only did the lottery go a different direction than them, they also missed on the pick. There's so many variables, y'all. And I understand it. Like, how do you convince, no shots. How do you convince a Wizards fan or a Jazz fan to be invested in your organization other than saying, you see Cooper Flag drop 40 the other night? Did you see that? Did you see Dylan Harper do this? Did you see this player do this? Well, that guy might end up on our team next season and boom, we'll be back. Like, you kind of need that to keep NBA fans engaged, but man, oh man, can it be rough when it doesn't work. And I guess this is what makes like a hard fan, right? Sacramento Kings going 17 years without making the postseason. Them convincing themselves that Ben McLemore or Jimmer Fredette or Georges Papagiannis or all of these guys could be the savior of Sacramento and them all fail. Like, that's what makes, like, 2 years ago when it was Light the Beam so special. You know what I'm saying? This team that I'm talking about, my Chicago Bulls, we had a time where the lottery odds were in our favor. We jumped up to the 4th overall pick. Boom, we did it. They drafted Patrick Williams. Had interviews with Tyrese Halliburton, other great players later in the draft. We went with Patrick Williams, a guy that didn't start in college. Like, that could be a good thing. Devin Booker didn't start in college, but still, the likelihood of a player who wasn't a starter in college coming to the NBA and being great is pretty damn low. There is exceptions, but at the end of the day, it's not very high odds. So I'm supposed to trust that same front office would make a better decision this time? It's hard for me to do that. Now, you can argue that the 2025 draft class is just so stacked that the likelihood of you missing in the top 10 is pretty low compared to what it was in 2020. Irregardless, I've been a fan for a long time. I know even the super stacked draft classes are gonna have people that don't live up to the hype. So again, just a lot of trust. When I was younger, I was the type of fan that I'm talking about with my dad. And that was, again, partially because I wasn't as much in the know. That, like, from the year 2003 to 2014 or so, that is the type of fan that I was for my favorite team. Part of that was earlier stages. I mean, I'm talking when I was 8 years old to when I was 12, the Bulls were just really, really bad. And I was just finding the game of basketball, but I still loved the game so much that, like, it didn't really matter, but I was still sitting down waiting for the moment for them to really pop off. And then once I started to become more in the know, we had Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng and stuff. So it's like, I'm rooting for them to win every night anyway because we're legitimate contenders. And then once it starts shifting to more of a career of me making content and me talking NBA, that's where the light flipped on to, like, oh, I really got to know my stuff. So let me study what these advanced stats are. Let me study what these contracts are and so on. And then we have the exact opposite side of the spectrum, where we have a team, and this is not calling out all Warriors fans whatsoever, but we have a team with one of the greatest players in the history of ball, and his name is Wardell Stephen Curry Jr. And he has still proven to us that he is good enough to be a 1A on a championship level team. His team is not good. They've actually been really bad over the last couple months. After an amazing start, they've been really bad. And there are people in my mentions, without even me mentioning the Warriors, without even me mentioning Zach LaVine attached to them, saying that they would rather not trade for him because his contract is big in 2 years. Brother, Steph Curry is doing interviews and they're writing articles, and Steph Curry is practically on his knees begging his front office for some help. And there are fans like, nah, we'd rather keep Pods because maybe Pods in 2 years. That is crazy. Do you want to see Steph Curry win or no? Some of y'all make me think no, because you prioritize the future rather than the now. Again, it might make more sense when your team doesn't have a great player, but your team has one of the greatest players and you're still thinking about the future. That's crazy. And it's not just the fan base, that is the front office as well. That is the reason why Steph Curry is going out there and doing these interviews and asking for help, pleading for help, because his front office is too afraid to lose a trade that might look bad in 3 years. What? Is that not crazy to anybody else? And again, I'm not saying Zach LaVine is the answer. He is just a name that's prevalent right now. You feel what I'm saying? So it's been a lot that's on my mind. And I do believe that looking at the game this way can be taken away from the actual on-court stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where, again, I am a big proponent of advanced stats. I feel like you have to have a balance of two. I am more eye-testy than advanced stats, but you've watched this. You may have listened to my podcast. I would definitely bring up advanced stats when necessary, but I only bring them up if the eye test is supporting the advanced stat, right? There's a percentage in NBA fandom that would much rather watch the game or follow the game through a spreadsheet, which, again, do what you want to do. I'm not here to change it, but I do believe that it is taking away from the greatness that is our sport. What the heck? What a tweet during my recording. LiAngelo Ball has signed a deal with Def Jam and Universal. I'm a swerve on that corner. Whoa. Come on, man. Shout out to LiAngelo. He out here making moves. But yeah, watching through a spreadsheet, like caring too much about contracts in the future just might be detrimental. That's all. And again, I'm going to take some blame. With me having a gaming channel with over 1 million subscribers, where we do that all the time, where I see a guy with a bad contract in the trade finder and I say absolutely no. That, like, I understand that the fan base over there has grown up with that type of content. So maybe, again, I have been part of the problem. But I don't even know what the solution is to any of this, right? And maybe there doesn't need to be a solution. Maybe this is not even a real problem, but I just made it a problem for a video. I don't really know. You know what this got me to the point of? Isn't this crazy? It's got me to the point of saying, trying to figure out, do I put this in the world or not? Because everything that you say on the internet lasts forever. It's got me to the point where, like, if February 6th came across and Zach LaVine was still on my team, I'm not even pissed about it. I'm not pissed. He's been a complete professional throughout all of this. He's been amazing on the court. At the end of the day, he's been a very, very, very fun watch for the past couple whatevers. I don't know, bro. Actually, now I'm having conflicting views because I would much rather keep that pick than have Zach LaVine on the team. That's the problem. Or maybe it's not. I don't know.